Majority Leader.
I ask unanimous consent that the following amendments be, we're in a quorum call. Are we?
We are not in a quorum call, Leader.
Miracles never cease.
There you are.
I ask unanimous consent that the following amendments be withdrawn, 3396 and 3398.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to pre-morning business. Senators allowed to speak for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I have one unanimous consent request for a committee to meet during today's session. It's been approved by Senator McConnell and me. I ask unanimous consent that this request be agreed to and this request be printed in the record.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that with respect to the consideration of the FISA bill, the text for each of the amendments in order under the previous agreement is at the desk.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to executive session to consider the following nominations. Calendars numbered 834, 835, 877. That the nominations be confirmed and blocked. The motions to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate, that no further motions be in order to any of the nominations, that any related statements be printed in the record, and that President Obama be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Veterans Affairs Committee be discharged from further consideration of Presidential Nomination 2024, that the nomination be confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate, and no further motions be in order to the nomination, any related statements be printed in the record, and that President Obama be immediately notified of Senate's action, and the Senate then resume legislative session.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Armed Services Committee be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 1339, and we now proceed to this matter.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 1339, an act to designate the city of Salem, Massachusetts as the birthplace of the National Guard of the United States.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
I further ask the bill be read a third time, passed, motion reconsider be considered made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate, and any statements related to this measure be printed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Commerce be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 4212, and we now proceed to this matter.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 4212, an act to prevent the introduction into commerce of unsafe drywall and so forth and for other purposes.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Vitter substitute amendment, which the desk be agreed to, the bill is amended be read a third time and passed. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table. And any statements relating to this matter appear in the record at their appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask permission by unanimous consent that the Committee on Commerce be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 5859.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 5859, an act to repeal an obsolete provision in Title 49 United States Code requiring motor vehicle insurance cost reporting.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
I further ask the bill be read a third time, passed, motion to reconsider be considered made, laid on the table. There will be no intervening action or debate, and any statements relating to this matter appear at the appropriate place in the record as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask that we proceed to H.R. 6364.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 6364, an act to establish a commission to ensure a suitable observance of the centennial of World War I and so forth and for other purposes.
Is there objection to proceeding the measure? Without objection.
I then ask that the McCaskill-Blunt amendment, which is at the desk, be agreed to. The bill is amended, be read a third time and passed. The motion to reconsider be made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate, and then any related statements appear in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent that we proceed to S-Res 3709.
Clerk
That's
will report.
S3709.
Clerk will report.
S3709, a bill to require a Government Accountability Office examination of transactions between large financial institutions and the federal government and for other purposes.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Vitter-Brown of Ohio amendment, which is the desk, be agreed to, and the bill is amended to be read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be laid on the table, and that all statements relating to the bill be placed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Foreign Relations Committee be discharged for further consideration of S-Res 613, and we proceed to that matter now.
The clerk will report.
S-Res 613, urging the governments of Europe and the European Union to designate Hezbollah as a terrorist organization and so forth.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
I ask the Senate proceed to a voice vote on the adoption of the resolution.
Is there further debate? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
I
The
further
ayes appear to have it.
I
The ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
Thanks, Mr. President. I ask further that the preamble be agreed to, the motion reconsider be considered made and laid on the table, that there be no intervening action or debate, and that any statements relating to this matter appear in the record at the appropriate place as if given.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to H.R. 1845.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 1845, an act to provide a demonstration project providing Medicare coverage and so forth.
Is there any objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be read a third time and pass. A motion reconsider be considered made and laid on the table. Any statements relating to this matter be placed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent that notwithstanding the upcoming recess or adjournment of the Senate, the President of the Senate, the President pro tempore of the Senate, and the majority and minority leaders be authorized to make appointments to commissions, committees, boards, conferences, or interparliamentary conferences authorized by law by concurrent action of the two houses or by order of the Senate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that from Friday, December 21st through Thursday, December 27th, the majority leader be authorized to sign duly enrolled bills or joint resolutions.
Without objection.
First of all, Mr. President, I appreciate your filling it kind of on an emergency basis to preside. It's not often we get one of the senior members of the Senate to preside, and grateful to you. Makes it so much easier on everyone else. I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it adjourn until 12 p.m. on Monday, December 24th, 2012, for a pro forma session only with no business conducted, and that following the pro forma session, the Senate adjourn until 10 a.m. on Thursday, December 27th. Following the prayer and the pledge, the adjourned proceedings be approved today. The morning hour be deemed expired, and the time for the two leaders be reserved for use later in the day. Following any leader remarks, the Senate begin consideration of H.R. 5949, the FISA bill, and Senator Wyden will be recognized. Further, that the previous order be amended so that there be up to 7 hours of debate on the bill, that's a FISA bill, and all other provisions to that previous order remain in effect.
Without objection.
Mr. President, we've been able to work things out to, I hope, everyone's satisfaction. We're not going to have a roll call vote early in the day on Thursday. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday. It'll be in relation to the FISA bill or the Supplemental Appropriations bill. So if there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask it adjourn under previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until noon on Monday, December 24th.
Today, the Senate approved the House-Senate compromise to the 2013 Defense Programs and Policy Bill. It was passed in the House yesterday and will now go to President Obama for his approval or veto. Also today, continued work on a bill offering relief to victims of Hurricane Sandy. Live coverage of the Senate when members return here on C-SPAN 2.